Hey y'all, it's your girl Show, and honestly, I'm super excited to talk about our topic today, which is the book Kin. I it took me forever. I will start with this. It took me forever to finish this book because it was a bit heavy. Heavy for the reasons that it just felt like it was too close to home. And I say too close to home, not because I've experienced what the main characters in this book have experienced, but it just felt like this story was too easy to relate to in a variety of different ways, whether that be because of the themes, whether that be because of the actions of the characters, the storyline and plot itself, whatever it was, it felt like this story was too easy to grasp onto, too easy to feel, too easy to see, and it really took me through there. By the end of this book, I was really torn up because it was sad. And I would just go out and say, if you have not read Kin by Tayari Jones yet, you very well should. This is a book that everybody should read, honestly. This is one of those books that make you feel all of the things. Now, yes, there are some things that are gonna be bad, and yes, there are some things that are gonna be good. But honestly, you don't even have to think about it that way. Sometimes it doesn't have to be good or bad. Sometimes you're just feeling, and that's what this book does. So we're gonna get into it, really good. Okay, so I'm gonna start with just a little bit of a synopsis of this overall story. If you don't know, this is a book about two childhood friends. Honestly, I'm gonna call them sisters because they were really raised up in that way, in a little bit of a way. But they are two friends that are, as they grow up, they end up diverging and they go down two very different paths. And we kind of just experience all of the things that go with that, the consequences, the life, and honestly, the consequences of their upbringing as well. Because there is so much in this book that happens either because of the lack of somebody or something, or the way in which they were brought up that impacts their life for years to come. And that is something that sits with me in this book because this book is called Kin. Kin, honestly, the first thing I thought of when I saw the book title before I read it was, okay, yes, family. Like, yes. And of course, we know family can be by blood, it can be chosen family, etc. But it meant family to me. After reading this book, I don't know where to place Kin. That's kind of where I'm at. And I'm still in that space because I don't know where to place it. Like, yes, Kin could be chosen family. It could be your family. It could be your sister in this way. But it also feels like it's so much more than that after I got through this book. And I don't know yet where I have defined it, which is also kind of a good, kind of telling of the book, because if a book leaves you thinking, at least in my opinion, that is a testament to just how good the book was. Because Tayari, your pen. After reading this book, I honestly say I have to read everything else that you have written. Like, it is, this was a damn book. And that's not me saying that just because I felt it and because I'm also a Spelman alum, but it's just like, this was a great book and it takes you through there. But I love books that take you through there but bring you home. That's what Kin does. So we're going to start with Nisi and Annie because those are the two female main characters. I'm going to try to not give too many spoilers, though I am going to go through the story mostly through characters and then a little bit through the themes that I have attached to this book. So Nisi and Annie, honestly, just seeing how they interacted with each other as they grew up was something that hit me, because seeing how Annie was raised by her grandmother and Nisi was raised by her auntie, technically both of them, I'm not going to call them orphans, but it feels that way. And especially for Annie, it felt that way, because Annie, throughout the entire book, she is looking for her mother, who is not dead, which is different from Nisi's position because Nisi's mother is dead. Nisi's mother was murdered by her father after she gave birth to her. And to think that though they are both motherless, they both still have very different motherless experiences as children. And that plays a really huge piece in what they end up doing as they grow older, as they grow into themselves, as they, in this case, Niecy goes to college, she goes to Spelman because that's where she always wanted to go, and Annie does not. Annie kind of just chooses to pick up and go on a fling because she decides that, hey, she wants to find her mother. And I think that's not something that I can relate to because I do have a mother in my life, but reading it gave me so much sorrow. It filled me with so much sorrow because you can see from early on in the book just how much her mother meant to her. And for some people, that doesn't matter. But for Annie, it mattered a ton. And so, like, reading this book was so heavy. But let's talk about Aunt Irene. Aunt Irene was thrust into motherhood in a way that she never wanted to be. And the only reason why she did is because it was obviously for her sister, but for her niece, Niecy. And you're kind of put in this position as a reader of understanding that Aunt Irene is not the mother that Niecy needed. But Aunt Irene is the mother she has because of the death of her mother, or I should say the murder of her mother, because her father killed her mother. And to kind of go through life knowing that this person that you want to look to as a mother, she doesn't talk to you that way. Like, Aunt Irene was very iron fist, very straightforward, from very small or younger ages that I would be like, oh my goodness. I'm sitting here like, dang, like, you've been a little harsh reading it. Like, oh my God, like, you didn't have to do that. You didn't have to say it that way. You could have been, kinder. And because I have always been a person who understands that niceness is a performance, she could have even been nicer sometimes. But it's really interesting to see Aunt Irene in the beginning, in the upbringing of Niecy, because that impacts her so much. And Niecy kind of she's always wanting or yearning for a mother, but in a very different way than Annie is, because Annie's mother is alive. And she's looking for Hattie Lee. Hattie Lee is Annie's mother. And Hattie Lee has been gone for a very long time. And she's always wondering, obviously, why she left me. Where's her mother? She just wants to see her. She wants to meet her. She wants to be around her. She wants to know her. All the things. And it's really interesting to understand that someone, like, and not to compare Niecy or Annie, sometimes it's easy to get caught up in comparisons, in people's experiences. And I think it's easier to say, oh, one or the other has it worse, but in reality, like, neither of them have worse. They are both experiencing life in two very different ways, but at the same time and together, which is the most important thing, because as Annie grows up and as she becomes an adult and as she really starts looking for Hattie Lee, she finds trouble and finds harm and finds trauma along the way just because she's looking for this lady that has not wanted to be found by her. But that's not something that she can hold in her heart. Like, Annie cannot hold in her heart that her mother does not want to be found by her. Because as a kid, for Annie, it really was like, why wouldn't you want me? I really felt for Annie, and especially going through the whole book. And as you see the both of them and how their lives, Niecy is at college, Annie is at a whorehouse. She ends up getting married or being in a relationship with Bobo, which wasn't the person that she was supposedly supposed to be in a relationship with when she left home randomly. So things happened for Annie, and they kept happening. there's one of those things that is just like, it's a cycle that Annie was in. She was in a cycle and she didn't know she was in a cycle. She didn't even understand because she was so honed in. She was so honed in on finding her mother, on hopefully building a relationship with a woman that maybe wasn't ready for motherhood, wasn't built for motherhood, however you want to write it, whatever. She just wanted to be around the person that birthed her so badly that she was in a constant cycle of harm, hurt, and pain, like honest grief. Like she never got over it. And the way that the book ends really hurts to know, like her entire life, she really was just grieving the fact that she lost a mother that was alive. And I think that's a tough thing. That's one of the toughest things in this book, because it's like you could feel it on paper. We never really saw Annie cry in the book, but it's like you felt it in your chest. You felt the grief that she was holding. I already wrote the fuck out of this book, okay? Like, Annie went through so much. I find the love from somebody that wasn't able to give it. And it was so sad. It was so sad to see. It was so sad, honestly, to see Annie kind of experience all the things that she experienced. Because there was not a point in this book where her journey to her mother didn't impact her life. Her relationship with Baby Doll, I mean, in the beginning, I was like, oh, they're not going to be friends. Then it kind of turned into a little bit of a friendship, which seemed cool. And then it kind of frizzled out, because it's like, if you have somebody that is so focused, they can't see beyond something like Annie. Annie couldn't see beyond Hattie Lee. When you have someone so focused like that, it's really hard to it's kind of hard to maneuver working in a job with them, because they are focused on one thing, and that's not necessarily the job. And Baby Doll was kind of in that position where it was just like, you know, you are putting me in some difficult positions, or positions I didn't see myself being in, because you're looking for this lady that's a ghost. And that's just something to feel and experience that I wasn't expecting in this book, okay? But then on the flip side, for Niecy, she's in college, and honestly, it's so interesting because as a Spelman alum, I mean, it's like you know that the experiences of folks that went to Spelman in the 1900s were very different. Because I'm class of 2019, and it's like, you know, that the type of education that was received then is very different from the education that I received when I was there. But to read it and to kind of envelop myself in it was something so surreal. I mean, Niecy had an experience that I was like, oh my God. So her relationship with Joette, which I thought was so interesting. Her being a friend, a roommate, or I guess a peer, a colleague, and then a lover, and seeing how Niecy really didn't really know how to even understand the love that she had for Joette, or rather the love that Joette had for her, and to begin to define it. She couldn't do that. And as a queer person myself, like it was like the exploration that she had, though small, was still a sight to see, and honestly was something that carried through her relationship with Franklin and his family. And it was just so, like, the things Tayari put us through in this book. Like, the relationships that were had, honestly, because you could say that, like, just, what is kin? Is it your friends? Is it the person that you met at the coffee shop on a one Friday morning? Is it the person that's been in your life your entire life? Is it the person that raised you, though you didn't feel a connection with them? Is it the person that became a pseudo mother to you? Is it the person that gave you a place to stay, even though it was a whorehouse? Like, is it the person that got you out of trouble when you were just trying to ride the bus? Like, this book took relationships and meaning to a whole different level. Had me questioning so much, because, like, really, how do you define your kin? And obviously, I do think that it is subjective and it could be defined differently by different people. But me, myself, trying to define kin after reading this book has been very difficult. Because this book kind of showed different relationships, complicated, complex relationships, in different ways that made you kind of feel like, maybe this is kin. And Miss McHenry with Niecy, like, it's like I liked her in the beginning, and then as we went on, I kind of was like, like, there was hints of elitism here and there. There was hints of, like, honestly, sometimes it felt like grooming. And it put me in a very interesting position as a reader. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, does Niecy know? Is she seeing the signs? Is she understanding her relationships in the way that I am reading them? And while I think the answer of that is no, it still makes you think, like, I wonder if she was, because my goodness. And then you have Lulabelle, who was kind of like a pseudo mother for Annie, even though Lulabelle never wanted, it's not like she gave that off, but that is just what Annie grasped onto. So to know that, and to kind of like feel that in the book, that it's like Annie was grasping for oxygen the entire book. That, like, really breaks you. Like, it broke me as a reader to know that Annie was clinging on to air the entire book. It felt like she was never breathing. She was always holding her breath, hoping to breathe, but never being able to because Hattie Lee. But the themes that came up for me the most, that made me think, what is this now because of this book? What is family? What is sisterhood? What is parenthood? And what is heartbreak? Because family, like I was saying in the beginning, I was thinking kin, family, your people. And to see how all the different people that were family to these two different girls, how they impacted their life. It just made me think. It's just how, honestly, just how complex our families are sometimes. But then when I think of sisterhood, as a Spelman alum, as a Spelman woman, like, sisterhood is really big for us. And since Tayari is a Spelman alum herself, as a Spelman woman herself, it's really just like, to know that she wrote this and to know how deeply I felt because of this book, it's just like, the sisterhood in this book transcended. It endured so much. And I actually was reading this book with two of my best friends from Spelman. And so reading this book alongside them and kind of feeling all the things was even more of like, what is sisterhood? Because Annie and Niecy, like, it's like, even reading their letters to each other, I was like hurt. I was like, oh my goodness, they're going through so much and they haven't seen each other. They haven't experienced each other in a while. They don't know what's going on. All they have are these letters. But what is sisterhood? Because even through all of that, they were still sisters. Even through a portion in the end where Annie is really going through it, and she and Niecy finally do get the chance to see each other again, even under stressful circumstances. It's like, even though things don't pan out the way that I was hoping, like, the sisterhood that they have for each other, it's like Niecy was being pulled one way, or rather I would say groomed or guided one way, and she didn't know no better, but she was trying to still be a sister to the only sister that she knew. And Annie was always trying to be a sister to Niecy in a very different way, because Niecy needed Annie for the sake of companionship. Honestly, that's how I feel. Like, Niecy needed Annie for companionship, and Annie needed Nisi for kinship. And in the very end of the book, because this is like skipping many, many things, but in the very end of the book, when what happens, happens, I'm not going to spoil the ending. It really is tough to read those words on paper, because to know that Annie chose Nisi as her next of kin was just like dang, Tayari, put the gun to my chest. That shit was, it hit you. She did a wonderful job getting you as the reader to come outside of yourself, because this is not a book that I can relate to in terms of motherhood or parenthood, because I was, instead of motherhood, because they definitely, both of the main characters did not have access to their mothers in very different ways for very different reasons, but they also didn't have access to their fathers. And though this book did not focus upon fatherhood, it's just that I think parenthood as a theme, because what is parenthood, especially when you have so many different people, and in this case it was many different women that were thrust into parenthood because of something that another man did, or because of choices that another person made. And it just, this book was, it was heavy for all the good reasons, because I've already said on multiple occasions I love a heavy book. But heartbreak, what is heartbreak? Non-romantically, because there was some heartbreak romantically in this book, but I don't think that the romantic heartbreak was the most important in this book. It was the non-romantic heartbreak. It was the friendships. It was the random relationships, or the random experiences with other people. The heartbreak that comes with feeling left out, or the heartbreak that comes with not being able to rise to the occasion when you're seeing your friend do the same, or when you're seeing your friend rise to the occasion. The heartbreak that comes with knowing you don't live the same life. The heartbreak that comes with experiencing things differently, even if you're in the same room. The heartbreak that comes with people leaving you behind. I mean, there was so much in this book. So much in this book to think about. Like, Tayari did a damn good job. And though I thought the ending was going an entire different route, and I still didn't like that ending that I had pictured in my head, the route that it went in still broke me nonetheless. Like, it really was tough to get through the end of this book, and that's why it took me many months. I started this book technically in February, and I was supposed to finish it. Actually, no, I started it in March with my friends, and was supposed to finish it in March, and then we just kind of kept, we kind of drifted, we got longer, because I couldn't finish it. Not because it wasn't good, but because it was that good, and it was that heavy, and it was getting to me, okay? This book really got to me. There were definitely times when I was thinking, maybe this book is too long. Like, I was thinking, this book is long. And then I literally had to remind myself, like, slap myself on the hand. No, like, it's not that the book is too long. You need to realize and reground yourself, refocus, and remember that this is the story of these girls' lives. Tayari took her time. And I took my time reading it because of just how well written it was. Like, I had to check myself, because their life stories, this was their livelihood. And I was reading it on page, experiencing it as a reader, but this was their livelihoods. And this was beautifully written. Like, honestly, horrifying, not in a way that was scary, but horrifying in the way that it ended. And that I'm sure that there were plenty of women that had an ending like this in their life. And even now, in this day and age, have endings like this in their life because of the circumstances of their upbringing, or the cyclical experiences that they're having. And yeah, I'm about to read every single thing by Tayari. I had already had one of her other books on my list, but this is now a must-read author. I mean, granted, I love all my Spelman sisters out here in this world, but this is an absolute must-read. And now I will be reading all of Tayari's works because I must experience the rest of the rest of her writing. This was a 4.5 star read for me. Excellent. Excellent. And I feel better for reading this book. Sad, but better. Excuse my tears, but this was a very good book, and I feel books so deeply. I cry easily, okay? All the power and applause to Miss Tayari Jones, okay? Because this was a damn good read. And honestly, I can't wait to do another review. I can't wait to do another review. This was amazing, and I just, honestly, I would love to pick her brain. I would love to know what made her want to write this story, because this is different from me. Might not be different from her for her because I have not read her other works yet. But as I go through her other works, I'm looking forward to kind of see if this is very aligned with her other works, but still wanting to know what was the reason. What made her want to write this story? Because now I'm sitting here thinking, what is kin? What does it mean for me? But I loved it. So I recommend you guys read this book, and I will absolutely see you guys next time.